This episode is brought to you by Workday. Workday is the next-gen ERP powered by AI that actually knows your business. It helps you handle the have-to-dos so you can focus on the can't-wait-to-dos. It's a new Workday.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
What's going on, y'all? It's your host, Will, coming back for another episode of the HuntStand Podcast. Before we get into today, I just want to say that I hope that all of y'all enjoyed and had a happy Memorial Day with family, friends, went to the lake, went to the beach, and just enjoyed the many freedoms that were made possible by those that made the ultimate sacrifice, and just hope that you embraced those freedoms afforded by those who made it possible. So we just want to thank all of those that have served, all the veterans, and those who are not here with us anymore and made those freedoms possible. So we just want to say thank you. But to get in today's episode, we are going to announce a special partnership. We are now official partners with BHA, and for those who don't know what BHA, that's Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and we've got Mr. Josh Mills, who is from BHA, to come on and introduce BHA, talk about BHA for those of y'all that don't know what it is, get to know BHA, and talk about the partnership between HuntStand and BHA. So, nonetheless, just want to thank all of y'all for tuning in to the HuntStand Podcast. There's a lot of other podcasts out there that you could be listening to, and so we just want to say thank you. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Go on over, rate, review. It really helps us out. We greatly appreciate it. And we just want to say thank you again for tuning into this episode of the HuntStand Podcast, and we hope you enjoy. You ready, man?
Yes, sir.
All right, Josh, man, appreciate you coming on to the HuntStand Podcast. Can't thank you enough. Just got back from the rendezvous. It was a heck of a time. You were running around like a chicken with your head cut off, busy like heck. But, man, first and foremost, just welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having us and me and the organization. And thanks again for making the trek up to Montana to be part of Rendezvous 2022.
Absolutely, man. It was a heck of a time. We enjoyed it. We got in front of a bunch of people, spread the word of HuntStand. And so, man, one of the things I like to do to start this podcast out with is I do what's called a 30-foot tree stand view. So
let's do it.
Let me know who you are, where you're from, what you do for BHA, and just anything else interesting that you want the listeners to know about you.
Well, I'm scared to be a 30-foot tree stand only because I'm 6'8", 290 pounds. I joke because it's like, although I want to, I'm very interested to get into archery hunting because our seasons. I actually live in Spokane, Washington. Work remotely from here. That's where I'm born and raised. Our corporate offices are in Missoula, but yeah, it's 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
So I am the corporate partnership coordinator with BHA and have since March of 2021. I've been a volunteer since 2015, and I'm an obsessed fly fisherman. I chase steelhead anytime I possibly can. I'm probably the world's worst big game hunter, only because I think too much, and I'm usually end up dragging my dad's deer out of the woods. And I do love to turkey hunt. I've been chasing turkeys a lot this spring. But I've got a little bird dog, little Annie. She's our 3-year-old fox red lab that we, surprisingly enough, we have really good upland hunting here in the state of Washington, namely Eastern Washington. Married, couple of boys. You mentioned running around with my head cut off like a chicken. I think I do that all the time because we're so busy.
Don't we all?
Oh my gosh. Like this weekend, matter of fact, I left my camper trailer in Missoula because we are headed back tomorrow for a U12 baseball tournament. So we're busy, but I'm one of those people that tends to recharge through activity. Sitting at home on a weekend, it drives me up a wall.
Same.
Whether it's I just can't do it. And so my one thing is that maybe people don't know is I played college baseball, and that was my obsession before anything. I've always hunted and fished my entire life. I luckily to grow up in a family that did a lot of outdoor stuff. My dad and I are attached to the hip and still are to this day.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, matter of fact, I was just telling somebody a story while when he was born. Excuse me, I was born when he was 40, and he said he had me late in life, so he'd have a packer, and that was my birthright. And so I was telling somebody to make a long story very short. Basically, I couldn't go with him. My wife was 9 months pregnant, and it was opening day. Poor planning on my part, of course.
Been there, done that.
Yes, sir. And so. And he was about an hour and a half away from Spokane. Yeah. And I said, Dad, at the time he was 70, he's 81 now. And I said, Dad, if you get a deer down, do not be a hero. I will find you, and I will drag that deer out for you. So like, I remember getting up and getting coffee, and my dad and like literally like the phone rings. It's probably 5 minutes after shooting light, or whatever, maybe 20 minutes or something like that. But he got the deer down, and they found reception where he was at. And he was like, I got one. Need you. I was like, there's nothing like waking a pregnant woman up and saying you're going to go retrieve a deer. So
yeah, but she was happy about that.
That was yeah. Thankfully, she just rolls her eyes and shakes her head and laughs inside, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, I've been there in the same boat. Yeah, it was February. And wife says, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm like, okay, hold up. Wait a minute. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Shit. I'm like, wait, that's like right before, like, that's right after elk season. That's like too close for me to go to the mountains. Like, what if the baby comes early? She goes, yeah, you're not going elk hunting. I'm like, well, we're going to plan properly next time.
It's a quick sacrifice for an eternal gift. So
yes, it was very, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Correct.
So
yeah, that's who I am. I like getting kind of back to the BHA thing. I went to my first rendezvous in 2015 here in my hometown, and excuse me, I really didn't know anything about the organization. Just knew they were hunting and fishing focused, and that's what my brain is always thinking about. And went there and started to meet people and started to see what the organization was all about. And I really felt like I had found my people. Yeah. And then off to the races there. I got a chance to go to DC in late 2015 to advocate for the Land and Water Conservation Fund. And I remember sitting in a little cafe in DC with Lantani, our CEO, and I just had this overwhelming feeling that I think I need to work for BHA someday. And it took me a few years, but it came true.
Yeah,
I personally left a career of 17 years plus selling advertising, mostly radio and digital.
Yeah,
and so brought that skill set to BHA, and it's the greatest thing in the world, because now I get to talk with great brands like yourself on great products and essentially do what I'm really good at and what I'm passionate at the same time. So I pinch myself that I've landed the job that I think is perfect for me.
It's a dream job, man. Kudos to you on taking the time to get there. I know great things come with time. I mean, and some struggle sometimes at that. Some struggle.
Absolutely.
So, man, I wanted to take this chance to announce the partnership between HuntStand and BHA. And so, I mean, we over here at HuntStand, we were super excited about that. We couldn't be more thrilled about it. We really kicked it off by coming to Rendezvous, but I wanted to kind of get your take and, what's BHA's take and thoughts on this new partnership?
I think it's fantastic because you guys have a scale that is kind of unrivaled in kind of in your product space, I believe, especially in an area that frankly, I think we could do some more work is in that southeast, northeast corridor up and down there, which I know you guys are strengthened. And it's a unique pairing, specifically between a technology company and people that it's this leverage of growth and scale between both what you guys can do and work and use our membership to do great work. So that'd be whether that's a cleanup or a river cleanup or a public land cleanup or advocating for something that maybe is on the chopping block or, and just, the scale of what you guys have and the activism that we have in our membership to do great things, to make sure that we uphold access and opportunity for sportsmen and women out there from New York to LA to, the whole bit of it, and even into Canada with our membership in Canada as well.
I love it, man. I love it. So I wanted to take this chance to also introduce BHA to some of that Eastern crowd through this podcast. Because there's lots of people that they're on the East Coast and they've never been west of the Mississippi, or they may have never left their state, or they've never tried Western hunting, and they just don't know about BHA. So I wanted to give you the chance to kind of tell our listeners, who is BHA, what are y'all doing, and what's the vision?
So we're a relatively young and new conservation organization with respect to most that are out there. Started in 2004 around a campfire in Oregon, and with the vision of protecting access and opportunity for the sportsmen and women of the United States. We'd like to say we're the voice for the wild public lands, waters, and wildlife of our area. First and foremost, it's protecting the opportunity. It's making sure that we have those 614 million public acres in the United States. I apologize, Canada. I don't know what the number is of crown lands this time, but I'll get that committed to memory. And then it's grown like wildfire. We hit kind of a rocket ship trajectory. We have sanctioned chapters in 48 states, just missing Delaware and Hawaii. We'll get them done pretty quick, I'm sure. We are also, we have chapters in 2 Canadian provinces and Northwest Territories. And I think actually I know it doesn't, maybe with respect to your guys' product, but I think the Canadian side's about to really explode because we're going to get official charity designation, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the near future. We'd like to say we have a membership of around 35 to 40,000 hardcore individuals who are committed to this ideal of, no matter where you're at, if you're in Tennessee, if you're in Montana and you've got public land, you can park your truck and do whatever the heck you want to do out there, provided within law. Yeah. And I think that's a really, truly uniting and American ideal that we have that freedom to be able to do it. And I was thinking about turkey hunting yesterday, and we were up by Lake Roosevelt, and which is the Columbia River system in eastern Washington. And there's these vast tracts where I could just, it's I've done it my whole life, right? I've done these things my whole life, and it's just kind of baked in the cake. But for somebody who lives in a city somewhere that doesn't know that you have all this opportunity out there. I was thinking about members that came out from New York and joined us at Rendezvous, and they were just describing all the different public land access that's within an hour of New York City. Really? And so, so they're talking about all the different duck hunting opportunities, or fishing for stripers, or my new friend Brandon Dale from Hunters of Color, as well as the New York board, was talking about. He sent me pictures of this giant eastern tom that he took. I think he was like 35 minutes from the city, or 40 minutes from the city. So it's like, it doesn't, we are a Western-based organization in terms of our headquarters. We're based out of Missoula. But we have employees and members in every state, and I would venture to say in the majority of places that you can go. And that might be a 50-acre chunk that's sitting on a swamp lot that gets you into the river somewhere. Or, so much of what we end up doing, sportsmen and women out there, is using waterways, or finding access through easements and things like that. So, it doesn't matter if you haven't been to Montana. It doesn't matter if you haven't backpacked through Glacier, or, flown into the Bob Marshall for a mule deer hunt, or whatever. I was, our event director, Jason Meekoff, who's the brains behind Rendezvous, he drove from Detroit he lives in Detroit. Dang. And he hunts public land there almost within the city limits of Detroit, or just outside. But he drove to Florida and got his grand slam on turkeys with an Osceola bird. Heck yeah. On public land. And it doesn't matter where it's at. It doesn't matter, what state. I think about our new chapter of the year, our Arkansas chapter, who recently, and my boys out there, if you're listening, I apologize if I get some of the details wrong on this, but I think it's there was a section of land that I think Arkansas Pine Bluff was going to try to jettison and sell to make it a private duck club, and the membership stood up and said no. So here we are in the Deep South, in Arkansas, and this 6,500 acres, and they helped cancel that contract and are working to preserve it to make sure it stays in public hands into perpetuity.
Awesome. I love to hear that. I do, because that'll get me in my next topic in a little bit. But yeah, that's what y'all do.
Yeah, it really kind of comes down to it. It's that, and the fact is that, we have different. I'd be remiss to say some of the other arms that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 18% of our membership is military, and so which is like 3 times of what the national average is. So we started a couple of years ago, and it's really grown like wildfire. It's our AFI program,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, which is the Armed Forces Initiative, led by our new leader there. His name's Trevor Hubbs. He's just, in fact, if you've seen anything we've been doing recently, he drove the truck that we're giving away from Troy, Missouri, out to Missoula. This truck that we're giving away at the end of the month here in May.
I want that truck. I want it.
Did like 2,000 miles on his own, and it was, anyways. There's that. We also have a robust college club program. I believe we're in 26 or so different college campuses trying to help train those and advocate new conservation heroes of the future.
Yeah.
And then we like to help and promote folks who are interested in hunting and fishing as well, who didn't grow up with the background, because well, if you think about your path or anybody around there, we've probably been pretty fortunate. Maybe you haven't, of growing up with mentors and growing up with people who are. I think about like fly fishing and how like just a bucket of weird knowledge you have to acquire to kind of figure out that stuff, or archery. I mean, all these things. So we're really working hard at working out mentorship, as well as what we call, R3, I think, has tried to get a bad name lately, but for that. But there's so many people who have been interested in the outdoors from maybe the food and the plate standpoint, and trying to procure their own protein. And so helping people with skill acquisition is also part of our bailiwick, if you will.
All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. The HuntStand Podcast is brought to you by Yamaha and its full line of class-defining, adventure-seeking motorcycles, ATVs, and side-by-side vehicles. Up next, Federal Premium. Go beyond what you ever thought possible with Federal Premium Terminal Ascent. Bonded construction penetrates deep on close targets, while the patented slipstream polymer tip initiates expansion at velocities 200 feet per second lower than comparable designs. The bullet's long, sleek profile offers an extremely high ballistic coefficient, and its AccuChannel groove technology improves accuracy and minimizes drag. And finally, we've got Work Sharp Tools, the knife sharpening company. We just wanted to thank all of our partners of the HuntStand Podcast, and we're going to get right back to this episode of the HuntStand Podcast. Yeah, and see, I love to hear that, because growing up, when I started to get into that middle school, high school time of my life, I mean, I still am super obsessed with hunting and fishing, but that was when it really flourished. And one of the things I noticed that there wasn't really a group or organization present yet to help facilitate that. I mean, yes, I had my dad, who was a big part in that, big part. But some people don't. And I feel like a part of kind of the older generation was not willing to, I'm trying to think how to say this without pissing off too many people.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I feel like there's a part of the older generation that just they weren't willing to share things, share information. And I think that might have been a turnoff to some people.
Sure. And it's also hard, what are you vying for with it's time for kids, attention, I think about all the sports my kids go through. I'm going through a weird phase in my life right now because I was the kid that always wanted to hunt and fish, and I always was playing sports, but it's like any opportunity, my dad, we're fishing, we're hunting, we're doing all these things. And my kids are kind of ambivalent about it right now, which is just a really tough pill to swallow, but I'm inviting them every time I can. But it is a weird thing when I'm like, hey, let's go pheasant hunting. They're like, and I'm like, it's just frustrating. But I think we have a lot of adults who are curious and don't know where to start. So we're trying to provide more opportunity. Like, for instance, this summer we have 5 hunting for sustainability workshops, which are going to be low cost and free, almost free workshops in places that typically in cities like Pittsburgh, Atlanta, New York, San Francisco, and Portland, I believe, are the 5 cities that we're going into. And so you're going to get, an opportunity for people from some skill acquisition, maybe some mentorship lead up, but also how to butcher, how to process, how to, all the how to's that, we take for granted that we just did our whole life.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about too is Rendezvous and the other events y'all have. Like, I think we were talking about muster a little bit ago, mountain muster, something like that. And then all the pint nights. Tell me about what's the purpose behind all these events that you guys do, and dive into Rendezvous.
Sure. Well, when you look at it, it's what do we love to do as hunting and fishing enthusiasts? We like to share our stories and fib a little bit and all that stuff like that. And I think we build community through our ability to be together. And so we did take a little dip in during the height of the pandemic, because what did we were unable to do? Unable to have pint nights, unable to have our rendezvous in person. So it's how you share that stoke and how you share the ability to go out and do work projects or land cleanups and things like that. So we rely heavily on our ability to get together. Just like any conservation organization is going to rely on the banquets, it's going to rely on whatever. Well, Rendezvous that we just completed in Missoula was, months and months and months worth of work. We had over 60 vendors, a really robust seminar schedule with experts, people like Clay Hayes from Season 8 alone, showing people how to crafted their own bow, or panels on things like the Wyoming corner crossing issue that's going on right now. So you have all that kind of stuff, and that, and the fact we do things. We had Brew Fest, we had campfire storytellers, which was, I've been to 8 of them, and this was the best one I've ever seen, with some really diverse voices and great stories. And so, the North American Rendezvous is kind of our culmination event for the year, if you will, because it's our chance to draw people from across the country. But at the same time, we know that there's some people that can't uproot their lives and drive across country. So we have some of these smaller style rendezvous in places like the one that's coming up is Muster in the Mountains, which is a little more like you could put a bow on, a little bit more of a mini rendezvous for the East Coast to make sure we're reaching people out there. That's going to be July 22nd through the 24th in Roseland, Virginia. There'll be dozens of vendors and all the other stuff that, and just think of it as a smaller scale version of Rendezvous. And, we got another one in Kansas called Rendezvous in the Tall Grass at Flint Oak. That's coming up here in quick time. And then at the same time, we have all these pint nights and throughout the country for recruitment, bring new members, get people exposed to meet people. And oftentimes we'll have speakers or seminars at these things, so that it becomes a time for folks to get together, share a beer or whatever. It doesn't have to be a beer or anything like that, but just share time, because we talk about, what do we give to each other? And one of the biggest things that we can give each other is our time. And when you get people of like mind together, we can move mountains, especially within the conservation world.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. It's what you said, it moves mountains, man. It really does. So one of the things I want to talk about, there's been controversy around BHA in the past,
Sure.
And I'm not going to go into specifics on, things that have happened or, bring up certain things, but I think sometimes people question, do I want to become a member because of the controversy, or, there's just crap, there's noise out there. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you, like, what does BHA do to just kind of, throw that off to the side, don't worry about it, or, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, it's apparent there's some people out there that have some notions that maybe aren't really, that don't really jive with the truth.
Right.
And, that's unfortunate. And we're not going to be able to please everyone. And I think the anecdote, or, rather than relying on what you read on a social media post or a blog or a meme account or whatever that it is that I would just encourage you to come out and volunteer with us one time. Come to a rendezvous, go to a pint night, and just meet the people, meet the actual people, meet these hardworking chapter coordinators, like people like Josh Stratton, or, Josh Kaywood, or we have 3 Joshes in our organization. I think we also have 3 Katies or Kates.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. But I mean, we have 40 plus employees out there, and, we have this mountain of volunteer hours that sit out there every month that we're doing good work.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's activating for the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, I think we produced in like an incredibly short amount of time, like 6,000 phone calls to Congress, or, thinking about what's going on the East Coast right now, and the advocating for striped bass management through Chris Borgatti, and he's that Northeast corridor coordinator.
Yeah,
it's just incredible work going on out there. And so I asked the folks that maybe have a negative thing, ask an employee, ask a member, come to Rendezvous, because I mean, I'm an outdoors person through and through, and I have imposter syndrome every time I come there, because I get around these people that are just absolute badass men and women, who do these amazing feats in the outdoors, and are all better rifle shots than me. Have never missed a turkey, and I can raise my hand that I've missed turkeys before. And
same here.
Oh God, it's like, how in the what? But it's really like, get off the computer.
Yes.
Get off the social media for a minute and just come to an event. Come and experience these people, and really just have an objective viewpoint and go, what are these people actually doing? There's no secret agenda. There's no who insist like we're sitting behind there and like we're puppet stringing things. It's just, we're out there doing the work. And are we perfect? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. One of the challenges that we have it as an organization is that we're not specific to one animal, one basin, one ecosystem, phenomenal work coming out of places like Pheasants Forever or Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, or Nature Conservancy, or whatever, name your thing. But our challenge oftentimes is that we have such a wide breadth of work and things that we comment on, is that we can stretch ourselves a little bit, but it's all in the effort to preserve those things that we hold dear, whether it's elk populations, making sure we're not privatizing elk and stuff like that in places like Montana, which are severely under threat right now by a growing movement, or things like, I was very, very proud of my Washington chapter leading the charge. We ultimately lost the spring bear season here, which went against biologist recommendations. It was purely a emotional vote by the Washington Game Commission. But our Washington chapter put on the heat on the commission and produced thousands upon thousands and thousands of comments on it, and to make sure that our voices are heard. So back to it. Yes, there's controversy. Have we been perfect? No.
Nobody is.
Perfect. Nobody is. But again, I will just tell you, if you have this opinion, come to an event. Come, better net, come to a cleanup and see what's really going on.
Yeah.
And I think it'll kind of open your eyes.
And see, and to add on to that, it's regardless of what side of the political spectrum you sit on. I mean, what y'all do is to preserve our public lands, because there are people on both sides of the row, or on both sides of the aisle, that want to take that, like we're seeing with in Mike Lee from Utah, who is a conservative, and he's wanting to take away that land from people, and that's not right. And I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. That's not right. That's not what some of our like Theodore Roosevelt. That's not what they wanted.
Yeah, and I also look at that. In our membership surveys indicate year after year that we are represented equally on all sides of the political aisle. Mm-hmm. A third Republican, a third Democrat, and the rest sitting in that middle ground of independent, or whatever you want to call that. And what we really care about, it doesn't matter it just matters if, do you want that opportunity to be there, to go and test your wits at chasing an elk, or, running a swamp bottom to look for a big old whitetail that has been evading you for the last 3 years.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you're in the East or the West. I think about myself. Like, I finally went to Bristol Bay last year. I went out to the Togiak River to swing flies for king salmon, but I've been an advocate for it for 12 years or whatever, since I first got involved with the Pebble Mine fight.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know the son of a gun was there. I just want the knowledge that it exists as it should be.
Yeah.
And finally, I got a chance to visit, and it was, it took my breath away. It is the functional ecosystem that is that Bristol Bay up there, in Alaska, and that's just one small spot.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're sitting in, if you're sitting in Texas, or if you're sitting in Ohio, and you're always dreamed about finding a big a big multi-point elk that takes anyone's breath away.
Yeah.
Well, really, there's, with a little bit of work and a little bit of effort and a little bit of scouting, it's not that far off. This isn't the king's elk. This isn't the king's deer.
Right.
It's everyone.
It's everybody's elk. Yeah, and that's, kind of going back on the privatizing of it. I think one of the reasons why we've seen such a huge push in the Western hunting the past few years is, the privatizing of hunting. I mean, people look at Texas and it's like, hold up, you mean to tell me, like, I'm going to spend $5, $6, $7 on a deer? Or, which, I mean, there's people who can afford it and do it. That's
sure.
That's for them.
That's fine.
There's nothing against that. They're hunting.
Nope.
They're still supporting the sport. But
yes, sir.
The cost efficiency of when it comes to going on public land versus going and paying on somebody's private land outweighs it, because it's like, oh, hold up, I can go up to Colorado, pay $700 for my license and tag. Of course, the initial expense of getting into it, it's pretty hefty. But once you do that, you're telling me I can go after an elk on public land, thousands and thousands of acres, camp underneath the stars, and it costs a fraction of what that would on a private property. Like, that's huge, and that's why I love going out west.
And I think about, like, places like, I want to go fish really badly in the Everglades system or the Indian River Lagoon in Florida.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed about, like, snook and tarpon and redfish and stuff, and air ice at thousands of miles away. So I look at it from the opposite side of, knowing that places that I like, I'm going to try to go fish out of Fort Myers after ICAST this year, and just being able to run boats everywhere I want to, and not me specifically. I'll get lost real quick, or think about the folks out of Venice, Louisiana, and the red fishing that my friends go down, and it's another one high on the bucket list down there. But
it's amazing.
Or going out as far to the Chandelar Islands, or however you say that, to be able to go do those things. It's just it's the opposite, right? Of that I don't have, and the ability to go out and do that it's a freeing and uniting thing.
Yes, and that's where, again, I come back to, regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on, you got one common goal, and that's to keep that and keep people with bad intentions and wanting to make too much money away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you look at it from the thing, it's the most, I think, as my CEO says, is that one of the most uniting things across all surveyed parts of the political land is public land.
Yes.
And the ability to go do what you want on it. And, there's a great amount of people that don't hunt or fish on those lands.
That's okay.
And thankfully, the Dingell Johnson and the Dingell Johnson Act and the Pittman Robertson Act have, funded a lot of the conservation efforts that have allowed those places to exist and to function. And so, it's nice that, we have advocates, and nobody can really go against it. If you don't hunt or fish, but at least that opportunity is there.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty powerful.
Absolutely. Well, man, I love all this. If somebody wants to join BHA, or they want to become an active member, or they want to get involved more, volunteer, where should we lead people to find that?
First place you can go to is backcountryhunters.org. And then come in there, and then there's many different tabs. I encourage people to read up and read all the things that we have on our websites, and see that the pillars of our organization, and see what we're all about. And then one of the other things is you'll see an events tab on that website. Find an event near you. You can sort out via via zip code or state where those places are going to be. And there's a lot coming this year, thankfully, if we fingers crossed and continue to progress out of this darn pandemic and give people the opportunity to get together. And I think, coming to one of those pint nights, or like, for instance, the Washington chapter is doing a bow shoot, or there may be some total archery challenges that we're involved in. There's dozens of different opportunities to be involved and come and check. The cool thing is that membership's just $35 a year, which is also really cool. You get a quarterly magazine that seems to be about double the size of Outdoor Life these days. Mm-hmm. No disparagement to that, but that you get a very awesome magazine with amazing content that is part of that. So that's kind of the easiest way, but I encourage people to just come out and meet and get plugged in. I think about a good friend of mine, Bill Hughbanks, who came to Rendezvous finally for the first time, and his eyes, and him and his wife, Teresa's eyes, just kind of lit up. And they get it. I found out the other day he just applied for, there was an open spot on the Washington board, and he's all in. It's all in. You see people kind of transform when you see the stuff happen.
Heck yeah.
And getting involved is the first thing. So backcountryhunters.org. You can purchase your membership there, and knowing that we do our best to be good stewards of anyone's money that we take, and try to put that back into things like we're doing things in Colorado with big migration corridors for mule deer or pronghorn. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of little things that we're going to end up doing. Or, there's work projects going in the Frank Church and the Bob this year. And, making sure we're really, really doing our best to make impact.
Heck yeah, man. I love it. Well, man, Josh, I really appreciate you hopping on the podcast with me, announcing the partnership between HuntStand, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and just kind of going down a couple rabbit holes. I love it, man.
Yeah, I've been known to chase a cottontail every now and then.
Hey, we'll have to do it again, man.
Yes, sir. Anytime. And thanks to HuntStand for joining what we do, and we appreciate it greatly.
All right, y'all, there you go. Another end to a HuntStand podcast. Just want to say thanks to Josh for hopping on here, talking BHA, talking this new partnership, and going down a couple of rabbit holes. But nonetheless, just want to thank him again. Thank you for tuning into the HuntStand podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.